What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back for another episode of the Fight IQ Unplugged. This week I had the opportunity to talk with Lizzy Gevers. Lizzy is a Dutch professional MMA fighter. You may have seen her recently by PFL Europe, but without further ado, let's have a chat with her. What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today I'm here with Lizzy Gevers. Lizzy, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for the invite.
So Lizzy, you're a pro MMA athlete with a professional record of 3-2 at the moment, coming out of the Netherlands. And could you please share with us how you first got involved with MMA?
Yes, of course. Well, I have been a judo player like all my life. My dad has his own judo school, so
Okay.
as soon as I could walk, I go into the gym and I love to, scramble with the guys and, get my energy out there. And my first impression of MMA was actually when we had like a winter break
Okay.
in my judo, and the coach of Germaine de Randamie called us, and he asked us, me and a good friend of mine who is also a very good judo player, if we were interested to come along and have a training with her
Nice.
because she had a fight coming up with a wrestler, and well, they were looking for girls she could practice with.
Okay.
So that's what we did. We went over. We didn't know what we could expect. We just went over to Helmond and to have a training with her there. It was the first meeting into MMA, but also with Germaine, which is funny because now she is
Yeah,
my
your
coach,
coach,
corner,
yeah.
and friend. Um, but yeah, we just had a practice, and I remember the moment that because in the gym they had like a big cage,
Mm-hmm.
and the training was next to the cage, so it was not into the cage. And then the
Okay.
coach in the end of the session told us like, if you are a real daredevil, then it is in the cage.
Okay.
And I remember that I said like, can I at least try?
Yeah.
I want to do a one round with her in the cage. And they were like, you're crazy. No one likes the cage. But I was like, yeah, but it looks cool, getting locked up. It's like gladiator feeling,
Yeah.
like only one of us can survive. So that was the first time that I was, seeing and doing MMA. Of course, after that training, we just wished each other goodbye. And I went back to judo and she went back to what she was doing. And when I was 21, I stopped my judo career and I was like searching for something new for a while. And I couldn't find anything I liked. I
Okay.
tried running, I tried weightlifting, but I missed the physical contact.
Okay.
And then I remembered, like, oh, would she still be doing MMA? What was the name of the girl again? And I looked up her coach, and I sent Dwayne from Helvoort a message because the gym is very close to my home.
Okay.
Like, hey guys, are you still into MMA? Can I come and try? What time? And then I came, and 3 months later, I was doing my first match. So it went
So
quick.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, how long ago was the first meeting with Germaine? The first time?
I think it was 2010 or something, like
Okay.
really long time ago.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. And so you say that you started competing judo from a really young age, like almost your whole life, and then so you went to MMA. But do you think also the fact that you, being from the Netherlands, which is a country with a lot of combat sports culture, especially in the striking department, kickboxing, Muay Thai, do you think that's also something that influenced you over your life? That you saw fight all everywhere, and that gave you the wish to become a fighter as well?
Well, to be honest, my whole youth career was only into judo. I
Okay.
never even had gloves on in my life. I didn't know big names. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
But I think that as soon as I decided to become, a fighter, I'm like very, very, very lucky to be born in the Netherlands because as a judo player with a judo background,
Yeah.
living in the country of the most epic strikers in the whole world, I was like very lucky because my first class of striking was with Andy Sauer, Germaine de Randamie. Um, so I trained with all the big names because they were just, training
Yeah.
together. And the first left and right was in the group with those people.
So that's crazy.
So yeah, I still cannot believe that they had so much patience for me because believe me, as a judo player, you cannot do anything striking in the beginning. But they had so much patience with me and just learned me all the details. And I think that's why I made so much progress in such a short of time.
Yeah,
Because for the record, I'm only doing MMA for 6 years now.
that's crazy.
So yeah.
Yeah, and you stopped your judo career around 2018, if I'm correct. I think that's the
Yeah.
last record I saw of you
Yeah.
competing. What made you stop judo?
Well, there are a lot of things that made me stop, but one of the things was that I was in the national team and living in Eindhoven, going to study there and travel the world from there. But as soon as the judo bond decided to go to Papendal,
Yeah.
they had not like 4 spots in the Netherlands, but they go all to 1 spot. And this was really a moment for me to look into the mirror and see like how much of a chance do I have to become an Olympic medalist, and do I want to move again, give up all my life,
Yeah.
my friends, my family? What is it worth if I'm not going to be in the Olympics or not going to be able to get a medal in the Olympics? So that was a time where I had to decide, maybe I am good but not good enough, so I need to, take a
Reset.
step away. That was one thing. And the next thing was that I really lost my joy in
Okay.
it because I was like doing it for such a long time, and it was like more of a been there done it. It was every day was the same routine, the same people, the same stuff. And I felt like, even though I believe you can learn until you die, I felt a little bit stuck in
Yeah.
the circle of doing the same thing all the time. So yeah, I lost my joy. So when I stopped doing judo, I really believed I'm never gonna enjoy it again.
Yeah.
But now I actually enjoy it way more than I did before, because I'm also like back to training with my dad 1 time a week in
That's
his
great.
judo club. And I see new things, like I can learn in a different way now
Yeah.
because, it's different.
And you are currently training, if I'm correct, in Van Buell Sports and
Yeah.
also the SB gym in Utrecht. Is that
No,
correct? No?
it's Training Factory Culemborg.
Ah, okay. Okay.
I'm training sometimes in SB gym, but the most of the striking is done with Jivan Akiari
Yeah.
and Germaine, and it's in Culemborg, Training Factory Culemborg, and I have a very good connection with Said.
Okay.
And sometimes I go there with Germaine, training with Said, but it's not the
The main gym.
base anymore. No.
Yeah. And how does that work out for you? Because not most of the athletes, but a big part of the athletes in MMA, they usually choose one home base, and then sometimes they do training camps over everywhere. But you already have like two, maybe three different gyms that you currently train in. So, is that something that you do because there was not another choice, or is that a wish that you have more training partners?
Well, it's actually that I'm always looking for what fit me the most as an athlete, and I don't mind traveling a lot. So I think that Dwayne is like excellent in his Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, in his groundwork, in putting the game together, in look at me from a different angle, like a judo player angle into MMA. And then, of course, I started working with Germaine. And then Germaine introduced me to Jivan. And actually, his style of kickboxing really suits my MMA game.
Okay.
So that's why I changed and worked with him. And we do it as a team. So we travel a lot as a team because I believe that as a girl in the Netherlands, there are not so many girls or lightweight guys to train with.
That's true.
So we have like on a certain days we train in Os, on certain days we train in Culemborg, on certain days, and everybody is coming together. So we have people from the south of the Netherlands, from Limburg, like Jordi Bakkers coming in,
Oh,
but we also have people from Amsterdam coming in, like Melvin Manhoef or Saad, and we all want to be is as one group training together, make each other like
better.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. That's something I saw also in the Netherlands. I think the gyms are quite willing to help each other out to make their athletes grow. I saw a lot of guys from Amsterdam coming. I live in Rotterdam for the record,
yeah,
training there, and there are a lot of athletes that go back and forth, Eindhoven, Rotterdam, Amsterdam. So yeah, that's pretty
yeah.
cool to
I
see.
think because if we are a very small country, um, but we're not going to compete each other
Yeah,
on the on the high level like PFL, UFC, Cage Warriors, Octagon MMA one. We're not going to compete against each other, so why not train with each other? And I have seen that more over the years coming, and I really love it. So we have now like a bigger team with more girls, like Denise Kielholt is
oh,
joining us. Um, so that's a very good thing because we have to make each other more high level athletes.
yeah, that's great. I think it works. It's working out quite well at the moment.
Yeah.
So among those teammates slash coaches, you mentioned Germaine de Randamie, which is yeah, combat sport icon. She's at the UFC for so long. What did she bring to you in terms of course, fight IQ, fight techniques, but also as a human being?
Well, I'm very grateful for her because when I walked in the gym, she was like already like on the highest level possible, and she took me under her wing, like literally. She asked me like, "Hey, you want to come to Denver with me to the UFC to see how we're doing in the highest league on the planet?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. Why not?" I didn't even talk about it
Oh,
at home or didn't even think about it. I was like, "Let's go." So we went on the first trip to Denver, and this was like the first time that I saw combat sports or MMA in a very professional way. Like, what did they expect from me as an athlete?
yeah,
All the interview media stuff. And I got to look at it at a very close view, how does it work? And I was a high level athlete as a judo player, but of course, judo is less like media
yeah,
stuff and entertaining than MMA is. So she really taught me that, like how is it working, but also like the biggest life lesson she taught me is like we are doing this and there's only a few people on this earth who can do this, who are able to do it. So enjoy every fucking moment,
yeah,
because if you don't enjoy the moment, then it will be gone forever. But if you are able to enjoy it, it will be forever yours,
yeah,
and I think if you see our team, I just posted a video on Instagram uh, with the locker room vibes. But if you see our team, we are like really enjoying the traveling, enjoying the journey, enjoying the fighting. And um, I think that's something you can't beat.
I understand
Yeah.
what you mean.
Yeah, and she taught me that, and that for me it's important that she is also with me. It was funny because in this she always tells me that it's like playing PlayStation with you. Like when you are in the cage, we are like giving advice, but you are like right away in it.
Yeah,
It's like give me that jab low kick. And then I'm like, bam, bam. Because I really trust her fight IQ. She knows how I work. So I think we're a very good team.
That's a great coordination skills to have, to be honest, because there's so much fighters that cannot just reproduce what they hear, like a combination that their coach would give them. They
I
you see
love it.
sometimes it's not they are not able to do it, and you are able to do it right away. So
Yeah.
that's pretty great.
Yeah, I love it to be like in the zone, only hearing the voice from the corners, and then they giving me like assignments, like put out this and this and this, pop, 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 pop. So it's a thing between my team and me, and she introduced it, so I'm very grateful. And I think along the way it came also the other way around, because mostly when she fights, I'm also in her corner,
Yeah,
or at least travel with her. um, and I think that's nice because we are like opposite fighters. Like she's the significant striker,
yeah,
and I'm like the one who wants to,
the grappler, the wrestler.
grab and throw and just hug her. So it's lovely when we have that dynamic going on in the gym, and we always like very on each other's ass with sparring, taking the best out of each other. So yeah, I think that's a very good combination to have.
That's great. And Lizzie, could you take us through your training routine, for example? What a typical week looks like for you?
Yeah. So mostly I train twice a day, with like one high intensity training and one training which is more technical and going over the drills.
Yeah.
And I have two times strength and conditioning with my sister. But mostly I start on Monday morning with the technical drills for kickboxing, really making angles and getting that in. And on Monday night we have the regular MMA training where we have like the prof athletes, but also like other athletes coming in. So it's really a nice training to try out new stuff you have learned, because there are also like athletes who just train 3 times a week and not like having a dream to become a
Yeah.
UFC champion, but still are on a certain level and react on certain things. And then we have Tuesday again. It's like technical drills on the ground by Dwayne. And then Tuesday night I have strength and conditioning. And Wednesday morning we have in the mornings we train only with the pro group, and Wednesday morning is like drilling over what we had on Monday or Tuesday, and some sparring. Can
Yeah.
be situational but can also be free. It depends on how Dwayne is feeling in the morning. It's like you never know what's
Yeah.
coming up. Be ready, got your gear, bring everything. um And then Wednesday night is BGG or kickboxing. It
Yeah.
depends. I alternate it. And then Tuesday morning I go 101. And Tuesday night I go judo with my dad or kickboxing. I
Yeah.
alternate it, or BGG. It's
Okay.
like
You have your routine.
alternated.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I 1 week off, 1 week on,
Yeah.
because it's too much to
Yeah.
add it all. And then on Friday, again, strength and conditioning, and we have a wrestling practice, which is like wrestling and BGG sparring.
Okay.
And on Saturday, it's fun day with our team. We have Saturday morning, everybody is coming from everywhere, and we spar like big gloves and then change into small gloves.
That's great.
Yeah, and Sunday, sometimes I do some BGG, depends on how I feel. And some days I just rest and
Yeah.
sleep.
I was going to ask, when do you rest?
But I like, when I had my judo career, I was like going pop, 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 and then one rest day. But it
Yeah.
didn't make sense because on that one day I did not recover. So right now I'm learning still, but I'm trying to do more like low paced, high pace alternate. And when I'm not feeling well, we take the low pace training or the high pace training out, and I get
Okay.
extra rest. So me and my team try to listen more to my what my body is telling me instead of,
Yeah,
oh yeah, Sunday is the rest day. I need to go, 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 and then Sunday is one day to recover. But
I love
most of
it.
the time, that's too short.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you basically around 12 trainings per week, something like this.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like this. Yeah,
that's crazy. All right. And does that change during your fight camp, or just the intensity is
yeah,
changing?
yeah. The last, when you cutting weight, the energy will go, low. So the last 2 3 weeks, I'm turning it back to only one training a day,
Okay.
and I add cardio. So I go walking, try to get the 10,000 steps in, and I do like my morning cardio on an empty stomach. Because for me, the weight cut is, I'm pretty tall for the
Yeah,
125,
you are.
and I am not natural a skinny girl, so especially my legs. So I really need to cut the weight like on a slow pace
Yeah.
over a longer amount of time. I don't like to water load too much. So I'm leaving home at 129 something before I go to fight.
Okay. And now that you started your MMA training 6 years ago. So now you are more complete into, also you have added the striking to your game. So which are the aspects that you focus the most on during your training sessions?
Well, for me, it's like, first of all, the striking, because I was a typical judo player having very big and heavy legs and don't know how to move. So I was just standing still, absolutely no head movement, and just eating all the punches, grabbing people and taking them to the ground. So we knew that if you want to become, more high level athlete, I need to change the way I move. So I focused really on my striking. But I think it comes along with the strength and conditioning, because I needed to be like in a different way explosive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying judo is not explosive, but it's like in a different way. It's like the whole feet flat on the mat instead of like bouncing on the fourth foot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I needed to change. So that was what I was really like focusing on, but also making the transfer. Like, how do you use your judo? Because obviously you don't have a gi on. So how are you going to use your judo into the cage and mix it all together? And I still think I'm developing that game, because like my last fight, you hear the commentator say it, but also my corner. Sometimes I don't believe in my striking
Yeah.
as much as I should be. So I go for safety. I take the people and I try to take them down. But of course, my opponents already know, like Lizzy No Flow Airlines,
Yeah.
this is what she wants to do. So I think I can even develop that part of striking more and believe in it more. So I can have more success with it.
By the way, you just mentioned lazy no flow. Where does that come
Yeah.
from?
Well, uh, I didn't choose it myself
Yeah.
because I would choose another name, but no, it comes from the team. And I don't, if you put on the light, you have the button you can put on and off, or you have the one you can just slowly
Yeah.
turn more light. I am the one who is on or off. So it's like when I step into the gym, it goes like on until I step out of the gym. And I am like very energetic in like fucking everything I do. I talk, but I also train hard. And I think one time, it's not that I injure people like very often, but
Mm-hmm.
I go rough on
Yeah.
like everything. So there will be some moments where I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry, or like this. And then they start to call me like, you don't have like a flow,
Yeah.
because in Brazilian jiu-jitsu they have a term which called like drilling. It's like flowing, and there is where it started. That they say, "Oh, she's a no flow, no flow," and then everybody started picking it up, and then they started calling me like Lizzy No Flow. So
It
yeah,
stayed.
I I just added like, okay, I'm fine. Let's go. Come on. So every time something happens in the gym, or even this week when I was with the PFL, they say this is why she is no flow, because at the PFL we needed to take the pictures,
Yeah.
and the guy who was taking the picture asked me a silent scream,
Okay.
but I understood solid scream.
Okay.
So I was like the hardest I could. And then everybody looked at me and I was like, what? And they're like, silent scream. And then my
Oops.
coach is saying, this is why it's no flow, because yeah.
And I'd like to rewind a bit on your amateur days because you started fighting, like you mentioned, directly
Yeah.
like 3 months after your first training in 2018, and you finished your amateur career in 2021. So 3 years, 6 fights. Of course, there was the COVID break, so during a year you could not have a competition. But did you think that 6 fights were enough in order to go pro? Were you feeling confident that you could go pro after 6 amateur fights?
Well, I don't think that it was so much about winning or losing,
Mm-hmm.
because people were asking me, like, because my last amateur fight I lost
Okay.
before I go pro. And people are asking me, like, why is it like this or why is it like that? But I think we just were looking as a team to see if I was ready for the elements. Like, I learned enough to put it all together. So, and I think I did after my last amateur fight. Um, because we had a different variation of people I fought. I fought everything between 64 kilo
Yeah.
and like 57 kilos. And also like very different fighters. Like my second amateur fight was the old Cage Warrior champion. She was a pro, but we agreed on amateur rules
Okay.
just to see where am I standing. So I think that my team and my coaches already knew from the start of my career that I wanted to become, a pro fighter. And they were like looking differently at my amateur fights. I just think that they wanted to see certain elements or certain grow in
Yeah.
my game to be confident enough
To
to
go pro.
go pro. Because also in my amateur career, I was already with my manager, Pedro Faustino. He already signed me
Okay.
when I still was an amateur. So I guess that it was just part of the plan. Like, what do we need? We need to have this element, this experience. Okay, now she got everything. She's good enough and she can go.
Yeah.
I didn't really choose something myself,
Yeah.
to be honest. I
You
just
trusted your
trust
team.
my team and my manager with it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so that's quite a good sign when you sign by a manager and still amateur. I think that's must
Yeah.
be a lot of
Yeah,
confidence
I
also.
think really Pedro did a good job with it, because we got, on a lower pace, got to know each other. And I got, to to see how it works to work with the manager, what is he expecting, and what can he do for me. So I really love the choice that he signed me like really early, so you can grow
Yeah.
into your career. Yeah. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, because in Europe we have that tendency to have a lot of amateur fight before turning pro, right? That's something European, I think, because in the US you see sometimes some athletes 2 fights and then they go pro, 3 fights, whatever. And in Europe you see sometimes some guys with 20 amateur fights before going pro. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was wondering. And fighting is as much physical as it is mental. You have a psychology degree. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So How is that helping you? Because I guess that you're also working in that area. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
How is that helping you to shape your mind also to fit as a pro fighter?
Well, to be honest, first of all, if you are a psychologist, you don't know everything. And even if you know, it's not, I can help myself, have a conversation with myself. So I still have help with my mental health. So I go to a psychologist myself,
Okay.
um, because I believe that as a human, it's good to keep on developing yourself mentally, physically, and I really feel that you can do that until the day you die. It's
Yeah.
never done. You can grow as a person. Every situation is teaching us something. Everything we have been through is putting us in emotional state. Um, so also me, I have a lot to learn, and I cannot teach myself. I'm not the one who knows it all. So I have people around me who help me with that. But yeah, I'm doing my job. I am developing aggression regulation and emotional regulation programs for people who have been in contact with justice or with police or government.
Okay.
And I also teach on schools, like school teachers, how to deal with kids. And I believe that I am a living example. Like normally you have someone who comes to the stage, tells their story,
Yeah.
and they're saying like, yeah, all the school teachers should behave like this or this or this. Or telling the kids, you should not do this in this situation. That's wrong. But because fighting is so emotional, it's so pure and honest, and I have been tested this fight camp several times. I have been tested in this fight
Yeah.
and after the fight, because we have emotions because we are human and we have to deal with things like win or lose or um, insecurities and all those kind of things. And the kids I am teaching, they're also watching me because
Yeah.
I'm a public figure. They watch me on Instagram, they watch my fights. Um, and this Monday, I have to go back to my job and face them and tell them, yeah, what happened this weekend.
Yeah.
I have to tell them that I felt great and I did everything I could, but I couldn't finish her and I lost the fight. And I have been crying for a few hours. And I cannot lie about that
Yeah.
because I would lie about the truth. So they saw my face, and it makes it like really honest. And people are like taking your advice because they feel it's honest and you going through it as well. And I'm not saying that a regular woman who is a psychologist has this, but I really believe that fighting brings you more vulnerable, more
Yeah.
close to your emotions. Um, and I'm dealing with it every day. So I can also teach them how I deal with it and that it's human to deal with kind of things. And yes, I was angry that they did not choose me,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna, fight into the cage again when they, you know. So this is an example, like when they get something that they feel it's unfair, you cannot just stand up and fight. You have
For sure.
to, deal with your emotions.
Was actually my last question about the first part of the interview.
Yes.
Now we are heading to the Fight IQ Dash, which is 10 questions. You have to choose an answer quite quickly. So
Yeah,
let's test you. Are you
I'm
ready?
ready.
Okay. What's the hardest part? The diet or the training intensity?
Diet.
Mhm. In training, you're more basing yourself on conditioning or on technique.
Technique.
Technique. You like to stick to the game plan or adapt to your opponent.
Adapted to my opponent.
When you're not fighting, are you still watching fights or connecting to the MMA world, or are you completely unplugging?
I'm not watching, but I connect.
Yeah. After a fight, you like to chill, spend some time with loved ones, or going directly back at the gym?
Spend time with loved ones.
All right. What's your favorite technique?
My haragoshi.
Okay. Yeah, judoka. Who would you love to spar with, past or present?
Germaine.
Okay. If you could fight in any era of fighting, which era would it be?
I would love to go to Tokyo.
All right. Nice. Best fight you've ever seen?
Best fight I ever saw. I think
This one's hard.
that's a really hard question. I loved it's not a best fight I've ever seen, but I loved the Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. I have to say
Oh,
it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And what would you be if not a fighter?
a dancer probably.
Okay, nice. All right, that was it. You did great. So now we're heading to the second part, which is
Yeah,
about your pro career. So you started your pro career in April of 2022 at
yeah,
SCC 10, which was in Spain.
yeah,
You got the submission win in the second round versus somebody who was really experienced, or at least more experienced than you in your pro career, Silvia Juaneda. How did it feel to get that win with a finish in your pro debut?
it was amazing, because when we heard that fight, like when my manager called me for that fight, he asked my team 3 times, "Are you sure you want Lizzy against Sylvia for her pro debut?" And my team said yes, because she is a good opponent for Lizzy. And I know that it was still COVID, and I didn't was allowed to bring friends and public, but my mom came,
Oh,
and she was the only one sitting in the public, and she watched all the movies of Sylvia knocking her before
opponent.
opponents out, and she was like sitting in the Spanish crowd, and she was like scared to yell for me, because she was like, "Oh, maybe they're gonna attack me," and she had like a blanket or something, and she was covering her eyes because she
Oh,
was scared to watch. And I felt after that first round, I took her soul out. I did not finish it yet, but I could see in her eyes she didn't want to fight me anymore. She was like lying in the corner.
yeah.
So I knew this second round I'm gonna finish somewhere, somehow. I'm not sure. But when I go under for the rear naked choke, I knew this is gonna be it. And it felt so good, because when I won, I heard like one voice. It was my mom, because then she knew now I can yell.
Like,
She was like, "That's my," like
oh, that's
very
amazing.
like screaming, like. And it was like very very lovely feeling to you know
Yeah.
know I did it and I pulled it off.
And so you fought in Spain, which is
Yeah.
uh, yeah, quite far from your hometown. So why that choice of fighting abroad? Because most of fighters, they like to make their pro debut in front of their own crowd. So of course there was COVID, that might be one of the reasons. But was there something else?
Yeah, so it was COVID, so we had to, choose a country where we were permitted, because at that time, the Netherlands and Germany was still not permitted to fight. And my manager Pedro Faustino is like half Spanish, half Portuguese.
Okay.
So he had like this event together with another friend of him, which is also a manager, and they just pulled off like different fighters within their own contract and pulled off the event. So
Okay.
all the fighters who are contracted in the management could fight.
All right. And 7 months later, after your debut, you had your second fight, still at SCC. Another win, another submission against Beata Juhas.
Yeah.
So it looks like you were still not trusting your striking so much. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, we could.
And this was also quite of a funny story, because I was supposed a girl from Brazil,
Okay.
and when I got out to the airplane, my manager came to pick me up from the airport, and he asked me like, "Hey Lizzy, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he's like, "I'm not fine. Your opponent did not get into the plane."
Oh,
And we were like, "What?"
yeah.
And he said, like, "I already called every girl in Spain, in Portugal to fight you. But after Sylvia, no one wants to fight you. And I am in trouble. I don't know what to do."
Oh my God.
So I have to give props to Dwayne, because Germaine was like highly pregnant at the time. She was flying with me, but she was like highly pregnant. And Dwayne called the whole fucking night,
Okay.
every gym, every coach, every person he knew to fight me, because we needed that
Yeah.
win. And then in the end of the night, I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, we had a confirmation that Berta wants to fight me. But her record was 6-4,
Yeah.
like 6 wins, 4 losses. I was just 1-0. So my manager was like, "Thank you for being up all night, but we're not gonna fight the girl with 6-4. That's the risk is too high."
Yeah.
And then Jermaine and Dwayne were like so frustrated. So they told my manager, like, "The responsibility is on us, but
Yeah.
this girl needs to fight because she will go on the street and kill someone. Let her fight."
Oh
So
my
yeah.
God.
And then this was, the fight. I had to do my weight cut twice in
Yeah.
24 hours because the organization already allowed me to eat and drink. And then I have to go again because Berta wanted to see my weight, of course. So I had two weight cuts in 24 hours. I was like so done with it. And
Yeah.
I was so bothered by everything that happened that I didn't even want to take the chance of striking. I got into a fight with the referee in that fight because her hair was like everywhere and
Yeah.
I didn't see what was the forehead and what was the back of the head. And Dwayne told me, "Just grapple her,
Yeah.
just grapple her, take something home." And I took the arm bar, so
Yeah. Was a great finish.
yeah,
I didn't
take,
know that whole story. That
yeah.
puts everything in perspective. And those good performances that you had at SCC, they attracted the eye of the PFL, which is
Yeah.
one of the biggest organization worldwide. They have tournaments in the US, in Europe, now in Saudi Arabia as well. Um, how did it feel to have that much light on you, or at least that much recognition from a big organization?
Yeah, so I was only 2-0 when PFL called, and I felt a little bit overwhelmed, to be honest, because
Okay.
I didn't expect it at that time, so soon, only two pro fights in. So I was like, "Shit, wow." But what do they expect from me now? It's a tournament.
Yeah.
Of course, I signed immediately. I had no doubt. I was like amazing, but I also felt like if I look back at it now, maybe a little early because
Okay.
the first time on the big stage, all the people, everybody watching me, all the media stuff, um, I had to get used to it a little bit more than I didn't think at that point I
Yeah.
was like totally ready for all the stuff coming with it.
And so you made your debut at PFL in March from last year, 2023,
Yeah.
to enter the flyweight tournament. It was versus Valentina Scatizzi, which is in the tournament also this year and who went to the first round. Um, Unfortunately, you lost it. It was a close fight. I watched it again today. What were you feeling after that first pro loss?
Well, I think it was a very close fight, and it was the first time I totally showed my ability in my stand up game because I knew that her dad is a famous judo coach in Italy. So I knew that she probably be prepared for my judo. So we came with a different game plan, adjust. And I felt the first time in my MMA career that I had control on my feet. Like
Yeah.
I controlled the way I moved. I controlled the way I fight. Of course, watched it back 10,000 times because I lost in the split decision. And when I watch it back, I still can see the damage I did with my striking. And I was maybe a little bit too much fighting on the defense instead of the offense. But it was the first time I showed the world that I'm just more than just a judo player.
Sure.
People always ask me, because there was a lot of commotion after that fight. Did I win it? Did I not win it? Some people believed I got robbed. Some people believed it was the way it was. But for me, at that point, I was just like, I did it. It was the first time on that stage. It was the first time a whole 15 minute stand up fight for me, and I believe that I could have done more to finish her, but I think I was so overwhelmed by being in the cage in the big stadium, in control with my stand up game, that I believed at that moment that it was enough to, pull the fight on my side. So I don't blame anyone for that fight. I only learned from it, and I developed from there. I should have finished her. Still believe I could. I didn't do it, so that's on me.
Yeah. Well, you didn't look like you were overwhelmed, to be honest. You looked perfectly at your place. It was a great fight, and actually you were quite of answered my next question, which is you had great striking that night. You were also showing a lot of progress in the clinch, like a lot of knees from the clinch, those kind of things. Were you, despite the loss, able to find satisfaction that you could show your growth in those areas?
Yeah, I really love that I could show finally what I was working on, because until then, of course, all the time when I'm doing MMA, I'm also training my striking a lot. But when I stepped into the cage, I felt like more comfortable grabbing someone and just going back to, what I've been doing until then.
Yeah.
And this was the first fight I knew I need to do something different, because it's not going to work with her. So I was like very happy with the process, with the growth I showed. Of course, I was not happy with the result, but yeah, I at that point I was like, I should have done more.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you feel, that you should have done more and try to finish the fight then.
Yeah, I had energy for like 5 more rounds.
Yeah.
So I was like, I could have done, more.
After that, you didn't fight for a year. Your next fight after that was March from this year, so 2024. Yep. It was at Fight 2-1 in Spain again. You like Spain. It was versus Dee Bagley, and you won it by unanimous decision. Dee Bagley is quite experienced. She had 8 pro fights when you met her. So how did it feel first to get back in the win column?
Yeah, so I was supposed to fight for PFL in France in September.
Yeah.
But 3 weeks before I supposed to be fighting, I broke my underarm.
Oh.
And it was an ugly breakage, so I needed surgery. And they put in an iron plate and 8 bricks, and I needed to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because of the plate, I could not turn the arm anymore. So it was like
yeah,
a robot arm.
Yeah.
And it's hard to punch someone when you cannot, turn. So that was like a long journey for me, like mentally and physically. And I knew I would be back on the PFL tournament this year, but I asked PFL permission to have one fight before, so I could test my arm and got some
feelings,
some feeling in the cage again before I step on the big audience again. And they agreed, and we agreed with the teammate of Scatizzi which was Dee Beckley.
Okay.
And we knew that she was quite experienced, very good, solid grappler. And we wanted to have a test for me, for my arm, to see where am I standing against a fighter who is like more experienced than I am, who has like very solid grappling game. And let's see how I pull that off. And we made a catch weight on 60
Yeah.
kilograms, which was quite a well, I will not say a wrong decision, but I saw that I am not naturally. When I
Yeah.
stepped into that cage, I felt like, how can she be twice as big as me in one day? Because she fought like 135
Yeah.
before, and I've
Bantamweight.
been only 125, and I was already like losing the weight for the PFL, and I felt like I'm fighting someone over my weight class. It was not because we weighted in the same, but it felt like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think I adjusted. We had a striking game against Beckley, but as soon as the fight started, she started walking towards me, and I felt there was no way of stopping
Yeah.
the pace coming at me, but to make her fly. So that's what I did, and I think I love being in there for 3 rounds, 15 minutes, because that's what all I needed to be confident in my body and in my arm again.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was really looking for the finish. I had a few attempts, but I just felt I wanted to have as much time in as possible.
Yeah.
So I was just like keeping up with the scrambles and keeping up with that because I felt I'm in control and I want to have as much time in the cage as possible.
Great. And yeah, so after that, PFL back to the PFL. Coming
Yes.
back at your last performance, which was last weekend in Newcastle. I had the chance to be there and see you live. You faced Carolina Wojcik, which is quite experienced opponent as well. Once again, you took somebody really experienced. Let's talk about before the fight first. Were you confident when you saw Carolina Wojcik that you could get the job done and get to the next round of the tournament?
So just to be clear, is like I only heard like Friday, 1 week before the fight, that Sammy Joe was ill and she
Yeah,
pulled out. So that was only Friday, 1 week before we should fight. So of course that's something you don't want to hear last moment. It's like very frustrating when you have like an opponent for months. You have been training for a certain opponent and then they pull out. She is very ill, so as soon as I heard, I was like, wow, fuck. I hope that she recovers as soon as possible and everything is okay with her, because you don't wish no one
no,
something she's going through. But for me, of course, it was like strange because you're preparing for someone and then there is no one. And then they came up with Carolina, and my team didn't even tell me about it, uh, because they immediately said, "This is crazy.
yeah,
You're supposed to fight a girl with 2-0, and now we're going to Invicta champion and Dana White Contender Series finalist with almost 20 pro
yeah,
fights. How can PFL do this? That's crazy. That's not something, that's not a good replacement.
no,
It's out of balance, to be honest. So my team did not even tell me who it was. They just told me straight away, we're not going to do it. And then it kept silence for like a very long time, very long time, very long time. And then it was Tuesday, and I left on Wednesday. And on Tuesday, the PFL told us, or you take the fight, or we're going to put you on the couch.
no. Okay.
So that's it. And it was Tuesday. I was supposed to leave the morning after.
Yeah,
So I felt we had a conversation with our team, and we just said, like, look at you can say a lot of things about me, but you cannot say I'm scared of anyone, because
for sure.
almost everyone I fought had a higher records than I
Yeah,
did and more
everybody.
experience. So we were like discussing, like, do you want to sit on the couch? I'm 30 years old. I have been in the judo career before. So, this is supposed to be my year. I
Yeah,
broke my arm last year. I came back from it. I had this fight camp. I fought Dee Beckley 2 months ago, which is also in the tournament. I don't want to be on the couch. So I told my manager, I told my team at this point, seriously, guys, I don't care who is in front of me in that cage. I just need to be in that cage.
yeah,
I did everything I could. Even if you give me 1 month more, I will not become a better version of me as I am now. I really believe I'm on the best version I can possibly be at this moment. I will not say,
yeah,
later on in the career, but at this moment. Let's take the fucking fight. And that's it. We just let PFL know we take the fight. And then the first time when I met her, she came in with like the stare down, with like the blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
I'm not someone who is impressed by that. So I looked at her and she asked me, like, are you ready for me? And I told her, like, I'm born ready for you, girl. I don't
Oh.
mind you. We haven't much experience. Let's fucking go. I'm sparring Germaine de Randamie.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What do you want me to do? Like, no. So, and I told her, thank you for stepping in. Let's make it happen. Let's blow off the roof.
Yeah, and that's what you did.
And that's how I felt during the week. I felt confident. I felt what I told you, like last year, I felt like I'm sort of a visitor of the PFL.
Hmm.
And this year, I felt it's my stage.
Yeah,
I belong here. I know the people. Um, I should be I should be becoming the star of the show. I felt like I have it all. I feel confident. I'm not scared of the media stuff. I'm shining. I'm happy and I belong here. So that's how I felt and that's how the whole week did go. And of course, you can say, if you look at the fight, you should have done this or this or this. This time I'm not someone who wants to blame anything on anyone, but I really truly believe I controlled that fight. It was me who was picking the pace. It was me who was like controlling the cage. It was me who threw her
yeah,
3 times. It was me who did the damage on her nose, as everybody could see. It was me who had the significant strikes, the significant kicks, everything. And it was like for me a miracle when they called an anonymous decision on her. I can still not believe it. I'm not someone who blames anything on anyone, but in this case, I still believe that the only thing she did to win this fight was to survive my storm because it was me putting that fight together.
I agree. I don't like to blame the judges too much because it's also a hard job. But I was there live, and my feeling when I heard unanimous decision, I was confident you would get your hand
Yeah,
raised.
it was the same. Yeah.
And I sometimes you have that feeling that when it's live, maybe emotions come in, so you have the wrong vision. So I watched it back, and I still have the same feeling that you should have
Yeah.
gotten your
Yeah,
hand
we
raised.
watched it back a few times and we let other people watch it because, yeah, maybe we are
Yeah,
just seeing it with the wrong eyes. But I almost like I was taking a shower after the fight and then I came out of the shower with my towel wrapped around my body and I'm saying, what if they put because I was the only one fighting in the white gear
yeah,
in the red corner because of the pull out of Sammy. So I came out the shower with the towel wrapped on. What if they switched it
yeah.
off? Because I couldn't believe not. And like I said, some people said I was robbed with the Scatizzi fight as well. Um, I'm not gonna say something about that because I feel I could have done more. But in this case, I really believe that I have been robbed
Yeah.
because anonymous decision, I couldn't believe it. Like I was like going to backstage again, and I looked at Germaine and I was like, "Are they nuts? What did they?
Yeah.
What,
Which fight
bro?"
did they watch?
Even the statistics on the screen were wrong. They put one takedown against one takedown. People, are you watching? I throw the girl 3 times.
Yeah.
I know if I am thrown down. I was not thrown down, not once.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, it felt like very, very unreal. Like what happened. I really was happy, when the fight was done. I was putting my hands up. I was high fiving my team. Germaine picked me up because we really believed that we did it against a girl who have 4 times more experience than
Yeah.
I do. I did it. I earned my spot. I showed heart to step in the cage with someone who should not be on that spot with me
Mm-hmm.
in the first place. And I really believed, okay, I did it. And of course, the easy answer is always then finish her. We don't need the judges, but it's not always that easy
Yeah.
against someone with so much experience. I mean, Carolina is a very experienced, tough fighter.
She's good.
She was even calling me out in the third round to brawl with her after I split her nose open. So she is a really tough fighter. I cannot say something wrong about that. She is tough. I couldn't finish her.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So, yeah, what can I say?
Oh, there's some, unfortunately, I think a lot of, not maybe not every fighter, but a lot of fighters are experiencing that at some point in their career,
Yeah,
like decision going wrong. That's one of the bad side of that sport, I would say.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We asked PFL to look at it,
yeah,
but
I was
until now we didn't hear anything back.
I was gonna ask this, to be honest. Like, if they did they reach out to you for anything else, not necessarily that fight, but do they have plans for you in the future?
Yeah, so I will be back in Glasgow for sure.
Oh, nice.
That's what they promised me before this happened.
Okay.
So I think it still stands. So I will be back in Glasgow for sure. And yeah, I will be the first alternate. If one of the girls didn't make weight or get injured, I will be back in the tournament.
Oh, that's cool.
That was the promise before this fight. So we have to see. And yeah, well, we asked the commission to watch over this fight, but
Yeah.
experience tells us that not much gonna change. I have to swallow this
Yeah.
pill, and I'm still trying to swallow it because it's a hard one. But yeah, I can't change it. So I have to deal with it, and I said to my team, like, team, we need to improve something. And then they asked me, like, what is that? I'm saying, we need to fucking finish, people, because I don't want to go over this one more time.
Yeah.
No, we have to go back to, because the first 2 fights were like submission fights, and the last 3 fights were
Decisions.
like all 3 rounds. And I told my team, I don't know what happened, but we need to do something in training to get the kill in, because I don't want to go over judges. I'm done with judges.
I get it. I get it. Um, in the meanwhile, Glasgow is in September, so it's
Yeah.
in 3 months. Do you have the permission to talk with other organization? How does that work?
Well, I have the permission to do 2 fights outside of PFL, but we have to have permission from PFL.
Okay.
So that's and well, let me tell. I'm very happy with how PFL treated me and how they are dealing with me and
Yeah.
how they are very kind people and they're taking very good care of their fighters. So I'm not really like disappointed in them. It's just the decision that it cost me too much. It's my win bonus. It's my it's my spot in the tournament, and it's my chance on the belt, you know. And it cost me much, and it's a mistake, but it's not a mistake PFL is
No.
making. The judges are not part of the
Yeah.
PFL.
It's a commission, yeah, indeed. So yeah,
Yeah.
in the end, PFL cannot
No,
cannot do
they
much
cannot do
about it.
anything. And they did what they could do. They asked me how am I doing. They make sure that I'm okay, and they're still talking with my manager about certain things. So yeah, I cannot blame them for anything of this. You know,
Oh,
it's
sure.
I took that fight. I went into that cage, and I gave everything I had. You know.
Looking a bit ahead in the future, what are your expectations, all within PFL, but even further? Like, what is your plan for your career in the next 5 years, for example?
Well, the plan was very clear. It was taking the belt and going to the globals. I still have a little hope that karma will be on my side. I'm not going to wish anyone anything. I hope all the girls stay safe and good. But I would be happy to step in back
Yeah,
again and earn my spot back. You know, so that would be the goal, and not maybe not this year. Then it would be next year. I
yeah,
I need that belt. You know, I believe I that belt belongs to me somewhere, and I have been growing since last year in that cage until now, and I keep on growing, keep on developing, keep
yeah.
on learning. I travel a lot. I have a lot of help from other fighters. I will be in July. We'll be back to Thailand again,
Nice.
training there. After Thailand, probably go to the States again to train. Before this camp, I was also at the PI training.
The UFC
Uh,
PI?
yes,
Yeah, nice. Okay.
yeah, I was there for a few weeks after Germaine her fight. Um, so That's why I said in the earlier I'm connecting. I'm not watching, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surely connecting. Like, so yeah, I love to travel and to learn and to see how the other fighters are developing and how they are doing and what I can learn from it. So I think that would be the biggest goal. And what I say within 5 years, I need to have
That belt.
that belt.
Yeah. And then going to
Yeah.
the global. Um, Here comes my last question. If you could take a look at the Lizzy from the past, the Lizzy from the first MMA pro fight, what would you say to her now?
I would say that her mentality brought her where she is now, and that she could be less critical to herself and more proud on what she accomplished and what she will accomplish maybe in the future, and to enjoy the journey more.
Okay, you think you don't enjoy enough?
I try to, but that's part of my talk with my sport psychologist. I'm a very critical person, and I always push myself to a point where I can see in every moment, everything I do, I can see improvement.
Yeah,
And it makes me the person I am today. So it helps me. But sometimes it also, like, for example, the Tenerife fight, I was not really able to enjoy it
yeah,
because in my mind, I should have finished earlier than the 3 rounds, and I didn't do it. So instead of being happy, I'm like blaming myself sometimes too much.
I
And
understand.
yeah, that's something I'm trying to deal with, to have more, be more proud of, be more kind to myself. What I can do to others, do it to myself a little bit more. Because with Germaine, for example, after her fight, I can tell her like 10,000 reasons why she is a queen for stepping back in the cage after giving
Yeah.
birth and being off for 3 years. But with like myself, I sometimes have a hard time to see the positive things.
Yeah,
You know.
I get it. Before we leave each other, would you have anything to add to your fans, to your team, anybody?
Well, yes, I want to tell everyone thank you for watching. Give a like for sure, follow, but also like don't give up. You know, we have ups and downs, we have high and low days, but if you have a dream, finish it.
Great. Thank you so much, Lizzie. I had a really good time talking with you. Thank you for your insights. I think it's so valuable for next generation of fighters. And I wish to see you come back to the PFL, maybe hopefully in the tournament, without hoping
Yes.
for bad things to the persons still enlisted in it. But that would be nice to see you back in the tournament, and if not, at least at the PFL in Glasgow. So I will wish you good back to your job and back to your training, and
Yes.
hopefully we see each other soon.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
And that was it for our chat with Lizzie. As you can see, she's a really cool person to talk to. She's sending some really good vibes, but she keeps challenging herself really hard. I'm putting her socials in the description of this video, so don't hesitate to follow her, show some love and appreciation for a tough journey. Also show up in the comments, tell me what did you like about this interview, and if you have some additional questions for Lizzie, don't hesitate to put it there. I'll see you in the next Fight IQ show. Enjoy the fights.
You hide your little sister from 'em. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs and party at the party playing with his nose now.